This
Now we're going to be,
conference will now be recorded.
all right. Let me go ahead and, okay, so it's full slides up.
You're good, just the individual slide.
Good. All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, today's presentation as part of our Community of Practice series is very similar to the one that we did last Wednesday. What we're trying to do is have one Community of Practice specifically for day and vocational day program type services, and then another one specifically for residential. So a lot of the material that's covered is very similar. And so, but I do change a few of the slides specifically to, in this case, to the needs of the residential provider. So if you were on this presentation last week, it's going to be very similar, if not pretty much the same as what you heard last week. You can get CEUs for one of the classes. You don't need to take both of them to get the CEU. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Before we get started, I just wanted to um, give a couple of ground rules that we do. You must attend the entire webinar or the community of practice to obtain the continuing education credit. So you've got to be on this presentation for the full hour. You must identify yourself at the beginning of the presentation on the screen or in the chat. So Valerie is taking down the names of the people who are on right now, but anyone who isn't on there will have to let us know in the chat or some other way that they're taking this class today. Also, if you have more than one person sitting at that screen and only one name is showing up, we need to know the other person's name if they want continuing education as well. So, and if you're calling in, you need to let I, um, Valerie know also that you're on so we can identify who is indeed getting continuing education credit. Both Kern Regional Center and Community Care Licensing will honor this, but you have to be actually attending in order to get that credit.
And just
An
real quick,
email
Jeff,
must be, yes.
everybody's good to go though, just for
Okay,
clarification.
perfect. All right. So, okay, then you must send an email to Irene at the address on the screen, which identifies in writing three concepts that you learned from this presentation. So, three things that you will learn today, and it can be just bullet points. You can just talk about something related to using community services that are out there for everyone else and how that can work for your clients as well. That could be one point. And then you need two others. And if you do want credit for this class, so if you do want the continuing education, we ask that you submit it within 30 days of this presentation. Last year, in our first year of the grant, we had some people who submitted it 6, 8, 10 months later, and it was hard for us to go back and track who took the classes when. And so we ask that we can stay current with all of that. So we appreciate your attention to that. Um, okay, the CQL is a national accreditation organization, um, and they offer a number of trainings for persons who are working with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we have contracted with them to do a series of webinars between January and September. The first one was This month, we had about 30 people attend, and it was, from what I understand, was very successful. And we'd like you to um, be involved with this as well. So the first training of 2024 will be embracing the dignity of risk, which is all about, sometimes you have to let clients try things out. That for so many years as a system, we always talked about how do we protect people and how do we kind of keep them in this cocoon and make sure that everything is taken care of for them. And as we give people more ability to be out into the community to make more decisions for themselves, sometimes people make mistakes, sometimes things don't go right. And how do we go ahead and embrace the fact that by giving people the opportunity to take chances, that we're giving them more dignity in their lives. Now, on the screen there is the address that you should go to if you want to register for the class. There was a little problem with when you went to the registration site, it had the wrong date for the class. This is the right date for the class, January 11th, 2023. I would,
24.
or what's that?
It should be
Or
24.
24, excuse me, 24. Yeah, you're
And
right.
just for the record, Irene did resubmit that out again, just like probably about an hour
Okay,
ago or less. So everybody
all
should
right.
have most likely received that.
Oh yeah, I copied this off of her earlier version. So okay, so that's January of 24, and it will be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now, the CQL does a series of webinars for the general community. And this is one of the ones that they do for the general community. And if you went into the CQL regular website and signed up for it, you would pay $100 for this class. Now you're getting, because we purchased a block of these classes for the grant, it's free. So you get wonderful training, free of cost. And one of the things that I'm hearing is that California asked the federal government for a 1-year extension on home and community-based waiver to make sure everybody was doing what they needed to do before they went out and started evaluating. But come this next March, Kern Regional Center will be coming out to your home to evaluate you, to look at how you're implementing home and community-based waiver. And one of the things that they're going to be looking at is how much training have you taken in regards to issues related to home and community-based waiver. So this is a great opportunity to show that yes, indeed, you sort of understand that clients have a right to make choices, and that sometimes those choices can be a bit of a challenge, but it's their choice to make. And embracing the dignity of risk. With any experience, there are inherent risks involved. Whether you're playing a sport, picking up a hobby, or broadening your social circles, you could fail. You could get hurt. You could be disappointed. In developmental services system, which can have risk averse approaches. So for the most part, we don't like risk in the work that we do. And more paternal style, like where the parents practices, people with disabilities are often not supported to have new experiences due to the perceived risk involved. During the training entitled Embracing the Dignity of Risk, attendees will discover how to help people to increase knowledge, have new experiences, to gain new skills, all while understanding the value that risk can provide. Oftentimes we're concerned, something bad happens, we've got to write a special incident report, and send it off to licensing and the regional center. And are they going to come out and we're going to get in trouble and what have you? That, is indeed something that you should be concerned about. But on the other hand, if you're never allow clients any opportunities to support them in utilizing the community then they won't really develop the skills necessary that are required by the home and community-based waiver. So it is a process, and we're going to talk this morning some more about how you go ahead and quantify some of what could perceive to be risks in the client's individual plan so that it's documented that this is what the individual wants as their plan and how they want to proceed with their lives. Okay, so today again, we're talking about community life. Our mission, you and I, is to empower people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to achieve their full potential and lead fulfilling lives. We believe that every person deserves the opportunity to participate in meaningful activities, contribute to society, and to enjoy a sense of belonging. We provide a range of services and supports that promote community integration and employment for our clients, such as vocational training, job placement, life skills coaching, social activities, and advocacy. We strive to create a richer and fuller life for each individual served, respecting their dignity, preference, and goals. So what we're talking about is we really want to try to move in a direction that supports the fact that our clients are part of our community and that they should be participating in the community and they should be participating in the community of their choices. This statement notes work, and employment is becoming more and more of the direction that the state of California is moving. California, back in 2012, 2013, became what was called an employment first state for young adults coming out of the high schools. Regional center is supposed to look to see if they can work first before they look at a day program or other types of day type services for that individual. So as a provider of residential services, you also want to be involved in supporting that client if they decide to work. Now, it sometimes is a challenge for residential providers in that a couple things that may occur. Many times, the individual who's living in your home may get a work schedule that doesn't necessarily correspond with the way you normally like to run your home. And then this is where the flexibility that we're going to talk some more about of you needing to work at what the client is needing rather than what your home is needing comes into play. So if the client has a job that maybe requires them to work from 3 to 11, and so they're getting home late and not there for part of the evening. How would you accommodate that? If the client is now getting a paycheck and his SSI is reduced and he or she now has to be part of their residential care rate, working with the regional center, if they're involved with the payee and you and the client to make sure that that's all taken care of, can be important for you as a residential provider as well. So in developing communities, you will find that things change. And some of the things that you've historically done don't work anymore or need to be done, modified to be done differently. The federal rules that talk about the home and community-based waiver really, really stress person-centered. The foundation on which you build the services that you provide for your clients is based off of a person-centered model. A person-centered IPP is a tool that helps individuals identify their preferences and needs for meaningful and purposeful activities in the community. So this is where things get written down. So as we were talking about earlier, if we're talking about trying new things that may have a certain amount of risk involved. That may the client may try something and fail at it, or they could potentially, if they got hurt or something else happened. Why are they doing that? Why were they not just sitting in your facility watching TV in the evening? Why were they out in the community? What was involved? How was that written into their plan so that they can be part of the community and be involved with services and supports? Because in most cases, positive things are going to happen. And although there is a chance for something to go a little bit astray, usually it does not. Most cases it does not. Community is not a place, but a way of connecting with others who share similar interests and goals. So going to the mall and walking around for a half an hour and then saying, okay, we went out into the community and spent time out there at the Valley Plaza is not that they're not connecting with others. They're not involved with people who share similar interests or goals. By participating in the community activities, individuals can explore their potential, learn new skills, contribute to society in positive ways. A person-centered IPP helps individuals plan and achieve their desired outcomes in the community setting. So, for example, let's say an individual in your home says, okay, I would like to learn how to play the guitar. And through a little bit of research, you find that there is a class offered by North of the River Recreational Services at a community center. And so then it's a matter of figuring out a way to get the individual to that class where they can share similar interests and goals with other people who would like to learn the guitar, and where they can learn new skills, and they can do it in a positive way with other people who are also have the same desire for outcomes that they have. So this is where it's so important that when you're looking at developing a person-centered plan, that you really try to get desired outcomes from the individual. The saying that you so often hear is what's important to the person and what's important for the person. So that's what we want to do when we're talking about person-centered plans. One of the challenges that we have in doing person-centered planning is that as it currently stands, the regional center system is underfunded when it comes to service coordination, the case managers, so that caseloads are higher than they should be. The demands are greater than they should be. And so many times service coordinators are calling you up and saying, okay, I've got an hour, let me come out to your facility and we'll sit down with George and you and anybody else who should be involved with the plan, maybe his family's involved, and we'll write the plan. And I'll bring last year's plan and we'll just review that and we'll see what modification we need for last year's plan. That is really not a person-centered plan. A person-centered plan should really be sitting down before the meeting, talking to the client, finding out what their interests are, getting to know them, what's important to that person, what's important for that person. And then when it comes to the meeting, helping that client as much as possible verbalize it him or herself. So we want to try to get the clients to say what they want. But if you have a client who is less verbal or nonverbal or uses communication equipment, then you want to help that person as well so that they can share to the best of their abilities what is they would like to see in their plan. Having it in the plan also is something that gives you a guide. It helps you to know where do you want to go with this client? What is it that we are going to be doing over the next year with this individual? Are we does he want to be involved, like I say, with a sporting activity? Maybe he wants to get involved with a bowling league, and there are different bowling leagues that are available, and it's a matter of figuring out how to again, the transportation issue, getting them to the league, getting them back from the league, the fees that are involved. So there's things that the logistics that need to be worked out, but that all can be done if we just start off by, okay, really, what is it that they would like to do? What sort of community? Maybe they want to be involved with a crochet class. There's a group here in town that does that's collectibles, glass and china. You name it. There's a group in this community that's involved with that, and it's a good place to start in looking at trying to find activities that our clients really enjoy. Mainstreaming, community involvement can encompass both work-related and non-work-related activities, stuff that goes on in your home, if they are meaningful and aligned with the person's goals. And again, let me use the example that I talked about earlier. Barbara is wanting to get a job working in retail. And so when you take a group of clients or just Barbara to the Valley Plaza Mall, it's not just walking the mall, it's going into a couple of stores and having maybe Barbara talk to the manager or talk to a clerk on the floor and find out what's involved in working at this particular. What does Old Navy require? What is H&M? What is what is Target? etc. What do these different stores want from their employees, and how do you go about it, and what background, and how do you make out? Is there an application? Do you go online? What's involved? So that would be a meaningful activity. So if Barbara's goal is pre-vocational is to move towards getting that job, then we want to align the activities that we do with Barbara to what she's looking to do. Pre-planning activities should aim to foster the full participation and inclusion of individuals with disabilities in mainstream society through positive community contributions and relationship development. So we want to try to not only make it so that they're contributing to our community, so that they're learning a new skill, they're learning how to play the guitar, like I mentioned earlier, but they're also meeting people in that class. They're making new friendships. They're having positive relationship development. So we want to really strive to for development for the individual, but also so the community gets a better understanding of the folks that we are involved with, and helping them to reach their potential. Okay, what community is not. Community is not merely requiring getting a job, living in a community setting, or going out, but a source of belonging and support. So it's not years ago when there was the strong movement to close the state hospitals and developmental centers here in California. Oh, we'll move people out into the community. Well, a lot of times that just meant going from one place where they were sort of segregated and kept within groupings to just a smaller setting where they were segregated and kept in groupings, but we're in the community now rather than at the institution. So we want to do more than just say, okay, people are out and about, so that's community. No, we want people to feel like they belong to something, and there's support there for them. Years ago, I had a client move into a small family care facility, and I was out there and talking to the provider, and this particular provider said, okay, all of our clients go to church on Sunday morning. and they go with me, and we go to my church, and that's our Sunday morning activity. And a new client moved in, and that particular individual said, "That's not my church. That's not where I want to worship. That's not my faith." And so we worked together with a local pastor from the particular client's denomination, found someone who was willing to, on Sunday morning, drive out to the facility, pick up the client, take him to the service that they felt comfortable at and wanted to be part of. And in this case, had a community because it was the church that they had belonged to in the past. And that worked out for that client. So it wasn't a matter of the client having to change what they did to meet the provider's needs, because that's what we've done for many years. It's no, that the provider works to do it what the client wants and needs. Activities are not just ways to pass time, but opportunities to learn, grow, and to contribute. So sitting in front of the TV. A number of years ago, I went out to a program, and they had clients stacking objects, one on top of the other. And when they stacked all the objects, the staff came over and took it down and said, "Okay, now put them back up again." And so the client was doing an activity, but what was it that, what were they learning? How were they growing, and what were they contributing by just doing this repetitive activity? So we want to try to find activities that make their life better. Activities are not assigned to individuals based on availability or convenience, but chosen by them based on their interests and preferences. I went out to one program one time, and they told me that, well, from 2 to 3, Bob really doesn't want to participate. He gets feisty. Sometimes he'll disappear for a while. He'll be disruptive. He just he's not cooperative with the 2 to 3 o'clock activity that we have for all of our clients. And my question to the staff person was, maybe that's not an activity that he wants to do. Maybe you need to think about what is it that he wants to do during that 2 to 3 o'clock time frame, so that by having a program that's the same for everybody, and from 8 we get in the evening, everybody comes home 4 o'clock. It's rest time from 4 to 5. 5 to 6, we have dinner. 6 to 8, it's free time in your room. 8:30, it's bedtime. Etc. Whatever the schedule, if that's your schedule, then that's going to need to change, because it needs to be based off of the individuals and what they would want to do and what they want to do with their time while they're in your facility, while they're in the community. And it should be based off of what's their interest and their preference, and what do they want to do. And it's not random or meaningless, but purposeful and fulfilling. Some examples of purposeful activities are volunteering, mentoring, creating art, pursuing a hobby. So, trying to find something that they could do. So if the client is staying at home, maybe I had a client one time who liked building models, and was really good at that. So we got him involved with a club that of people who would bring in their models and show them off, and and have social activities related to their model building. So that really worked for this individual. Volunteering, there's a lot of places in town that are looking for volunteers. Some of the religious organizations, food banks, other nonprofits are always looking for places that for volunteers. Creating art, there's centers, so that if you go to a community center, there are art classes. so that clients can potentially be involved in learning new activities by participating in an art program. Active community. Uh, Encourage individuals to use existing resources and connection in the community rather than depending on paid staff. So if you can find some activity in the community that the client can be involved with, that's better in many ways, because it's getting the client out into the community. He's with the general population, and it sort of frees up some of your staff, because the client's not always dependent on them. So, like I said, if they get involved with a parks and recreation, activity at the community center, if they go to, let's say, maybe a Bible study class, do other activities in the community during the week, during weeknights, during weekends, that means that they're not necessarily always at home with limited opportunity. We want to try to support what they want to do out in the public, supporting individuals to be active and engaged members of the community, not just physically present. So taking somebody someplace and just plunking them down is not what we want either. We want them to be engaged in the activity, to be part of what people are doing, to be sitting in a chair in the back of the room and not really interacting with anybody. Yeah, the client's at that activity, but they're really not part of that activity. So we want to move to the next step of really encouraging them. Sometimes people are shy, helping them, maybe getting into, introducing them to some people, helping them with their social skills in terms of meeting others, etc. Fostering meaningful interactions and relationships between individuals and community members, which can enhance their skills, confidence, and sense of belonging. Again, if they meet people and become friends with those people and interact with those people on a regular basis and share a common interest or preference, then that's something that they can really build on, and they can, and then they have a sense of, I belong, I'm part of this entity. It's about me. And the others that are involved too, and it's about community too. Promote the awareness and appreciation of the community for the abilities and contributions of the individuals with disabilities, which can also reduce the need for paid support. So again, if they're out in the community at an activity, maybe you're taking the individual to the community center, they're going to be there for 2 hours. Maybe independently, depending on the needs for level of supervision. And that's something that's part of the IPP plan. You need to look at each individual, and some people can maybe be independent for periods of time. Others, because of their needs for support, may need to have a staff person with them while they're engaged in the activity. That's something that you can work with. But the idea is to try to paid supports if indeed it is possible. And again, that's an individual decision based on the client's needs for support and supervision, and to the extent that they can have lesser amounts of it or can be without it for a period of time, that should really be encouraged. If the client continues to need the supervision, then you need to provide that as well. You can't use this as an excuse to say, wait a minute, they said I should be having the client being more independent in activity, so I just drop them off and come back 2 hours later, and the client just sat in the corner. We don't want that either. Or did the client wandered off because they really didn't know what was involved. So we need to really gauge the situation, do some pre-planning, figure out what works, what doesn't work, maybe talk with some of the staff people at that particular activity as well, and work to make it a successful and positive experience for the person to the best that we can. Visits is part of the community. Um, Identify any barriers or facilitators for hosting or visiting families and friends. Can clients have family and friends come to visit at your facility? What do you do well? What needs to be potentially changed so that make it easier for clients to be involved? What can be done to enhance the home's accessibility, comfort, and safety for social interactions? So, do you have a home that is set up so that if someone wants to have a visitor, it's a comfortable, safe environment and it's good? What about if the client wants to go to their family home or to their friends? How do you facilitate that? And what's involved with that? And and when somebody says, "I want to go visit a friend," who is that? Do we know this individual? I had a situation where a client uh, took the Get bus and came home one day and said, "Oh, I got my new best friend I just met today on the bus." And well, no, we don't know this person. You can't go off with them without first getting a better understanding of what's involved. So you need to really look at that and figure out what's the best situation for the client. Ooh, hang on a second here. It says my battery's running low, and I don't understand why. Because the plug came out. That's why. Hang on. Okay, we're back on. It just evidently slipped out. Um, Encourage the individual to maintain regular contact with family and friends through phone calls, emails, letters, or social media. Often assist with communication devices or skills as needed, or offer assistance. Um, Help the individual reconnect with any estranged or distant relatives or friends if they express an interest and consent. I have seen a number of times where people go into placement, especially in residential placements, and the family isn't really involved anymore, or there's really or very limited family involvement, so they're only involved maybe around the holidays. Christmas is coming up this next Monday, so maybe the family will drop by with a gift or something. If the client it says he'd like to maintain more contact to the extent that the family is willing, you should try to encourage that. And if they're estranged and they want to get back together, find out if that's something that's realistic. Maybe it isn't realistic. Maybe it's not in the client's best interest to be involved with their family. So really, again, individual. Look at what's going on. Look at when you're developing that plan, what the client's saying is it's important to them. And if family is important to them and they're not having the regular level of contact, maybe trying to work with them to try to help them to develop that. Support the individual to plan and arrange visits with their family and friends, either at their own home or at other locations. Consider the individual's preferences, needs, and goals when facilitating social outings. Encourage the individual has adequate transportation. Ensure the individual has adequate transportation, medication, equipment, and personal care during visits. So if the client's going off, especially if they're going off for a few days, you want to make sure that they have their medication. If there's any safety issues or well-being issues, you want to make sure that's been addressed. Also, monitor the individual's health, safety, and well-being and intervene appropriately if issues develop. You should all have an infectious disease control plan for your residential operation. If you're having people visit the client, are those people healthy? I mean, we don't want to be bringing into our facility right now is we've got flu season, we still have COVID, we also have RSV out there, so they call it a triple demic. How do we make sure that if we're having visitors into our facility as part of our development of community and the supports that for that person, that it's being done in a way that is promoting health, safety, and well-being. And and you can have policies. There is a residential care facility for the elderly down the street from where I live, and they have a big thing posted on their front door saying, this is a facility you need to be, if you've had any of the following, please do not come into this home. And you want to be discreet about it because you want this to be part. You want the clients to be part of the community. This is their home. You don't want to make it look like an institution, but you also want to make sure that you're maintaining their health and safety. Okay. Generic is a term that a regional center loves to use. And what it means is if there is a resource out there that anyone in the public can use, then our client should be using it too. So, for example, your parks and recreation departments that, as depending on where you live, if you live in the city of Bakersfield, or if you live in the Northwest or parts of the Southwest, you may be part of the north of the river parks and recreation department, but you're part of some recreation district. You can look to see what services they have to offer. You can look at an example of generic resources in exercise. If it's going to occur, should occur at a gym or a recreation center, or maybe even the park, but someplace that's not. Let's say you have an exercise in your home. You want to get out into the community. And again, that's an area that if people like that and they go and there are other people who are doing it, you can develop common interests. When I belonged to a gym, I knew most of the people that were, because we'd all come about the same time, and so we get to know each other. We'd say hi. We created like a sense of community around this common interest of working out. There are if you're looking at vocational opportunities for clients, there are one-stop career centers for resume writing workshops. A number of years ago, I was involved with getting a group of clients involved with taking some classes at the Career Services Center on, what was it? Yeah, East Bell Terrace there. And I went over at lunchtime and was talking to a group of 3 or 4 individuals who were taking some classes that day. And one of the individuals said to me, I never realized that there were that many opportunities out there, because what he had seen for employment was basically what his family did for a living, going to places like movie theaters, grocery stores, retail stores, gas stations, things like that were part of his life. And so that's what he knew people did for a living. So some of the many other jobs and opportunities that were out there were not something that he really understood, because he had never had any experience with it. And the old saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. And so we really want to try to give people an opportunity to see what meaningful opportunities there are out there. Art classes at a community center, lots of different programs that you can participate in: drawing, painting, camera workshops. There's also computer classes. There's other things that you can potentially. There's classes that are available through Bakersfield College. I think Taft College also offers some classes. So there's a number of opportunities that you can potentially utilize in the community. One of the things, if your clients are over 50, senior services at senior centers can be an excellent resource. There's a lot of activities there that they do throughout the day and on weekends. And again, it's a service that's available to all seniors in the community. So our individuals are entitled to utilize those services as well. Independence. Community services provide planned and structured activities for individuals who need them. So again, if depending on the needs of the individual, some people need more support. So when they're out in the community, there may be the need to continue to have staff with them. Some people can have more time independent, and that's really, again, the IPP process. Getting back to that and what's written in there about the client's ability to utilize the community and how he or she can utilize the community. And is it with greater independence? Is it continues to be with a high degree of support? And it varies from individual, and it can vary from situation to situation as well. So that's what you need to really, as you know your clients and work with the regional center staff, with other people that are involved with that client, maybe if they're going to a program during the day or work, somebody from that organization. If family is involved, you want to be have them involved as well. Support should aim to increase the independence of the individual, the community capacity to support them, and the efficiency of paid staff. So we want to try to make it so that people are as independent as possible, that the community is providing some of the support for that individual, and we want to use our staff efficiently. I mean, unfortunately, in most cases, we're being funded for residential services if you're a residential provider at 1 to 4, 1 to 6, and that when you're taking people out in the community and you're talking about independence and you're talking about individualizing it, well, if one client wants to go here and another client wants to go there and another one says, I want this, how do you do that as a provider? I've sometimes talked about, well, maybe you ought to put together a calendar, and on this particular day, it's Robert's activity. On this particular day, it's Mary's activity. On this particular, and maybe vary it that way. Groups of 6 or limit some of your community ability just because you are a larger group, where instead of just being 1 or 2 people. So if you can find ways of getting clients into activities in smaller groupings, or with the need for less supervision, if it's appropriate, then that's something you should look at. This benefits the individual, the community, and staff resources, like I said. Okay. All right. Now I want to talk about the last 2 slides. It's getting close to 11. We got another 12 minutes, so I'm going to have a little time for questions. To ensure consistency and efficiency, develop the same schedule for all individuals, regardless of their personal needs and preferences. No, you don't want to do that. That's sort of like the old model where you, okay, this is what we do from 4 to 5. This is what we do from 5 to 6. This is, from after dinner, it's free time. You get to go to your room and or sit in the living room, and then lights out at this time, and and then in the morning we get ready and you go off to programming. You want to try to, as much as possible, develop the schedule around the client's needs, not around the facility's needs. An evaluator one time told me he thought that he went out to one facility and that the tail was wagging the dog, that it was all about what the provider needed, not what the people living there needed. Supporting individuals by having them spend the majority of their time in activities in an agency building where they can be supervised and monitored closely. So that could be your home. If all they do is spend time in the home, then they're really not out in the community, or they're out in the community very limited when you just take them out for an activity, like I say, like walking the mall or going out for ice cream or doing something and then coming right back to the facility. Providing on-site instruction as a primary activity for individuals as we think that they need to learn basic skills and knowledge that's relevant to their future. We want to try to, where is this client going? What are we trying to do with the greater learning and independence? And what are we are going to accomplish? And one of the ways that I think that we need to really look at and think about is when we're developing that plan and talking about teaching skills to that individual, and a lot of times it's if you have paid staff in your facility, do they know the plan? Do they have access to that client's person-centered plan so that what they're doing, so if they're helping that individual with self-care, so they're brushing their teeth, combing their hair, bathing, grooming, dressing, is that part of the plan? Is that how we're teaching meaningful skills for that individual? Now that obviously is not a community skill per se, but it goes back to working off the plan and the person's preferences. Not planning or coordinating activities in the community for individuals, haphazard, not deliberate, having little connection to individual goals and preferences. Again, we're just going to go out into the community today. We're going to go for a ride. Maybe we'll go over to Seven Oaks and see the Christmas tree decorations on homes out there, and that'll be and that drive tonight will be our activity. So it wasn't coordinated. It was haphazard. The clients didn't say this is really what we want to do. So I'm just using that as an example. Identifying a very narrow set of community activities to participate in, such as grocery shopping, visiting a park, as we think these are the only suitable options for the individual. Don't limit where you go, what you do, and by all means, continue to ask the client, is this what you want to do? Is your preference? How does this relate to the plan that we've written where you said you wanted, to be more, to meet some new people? And then finally, my last slide, designing activities based on assumptions and generalizations about individuals rather than preference and goals. Oh, well, this person has got this level of developmental disabilities, therefore they'll like this. No, don't do that. Talk with the individual, find out what they would like, what their goals are, and then trying to develop the community around that. Organizing outings in large groups that isolate individuals from the wider community and limit opportunities for meaningful social interactions. Again, this is a challenge when you're going out. If you're a small family home and you've got 6 residents or 5 residents, and you're going out as a group because you only have the one staff person, it can be a challenge. So trying to find community activities where one client can maybe go off in one direction, another can go off in another. If that's their, written into their plan and they have the ability to do that, I really encourage that. Delegating the responsibility or encouraging individuals to the staff member without providing guidance, feedback, or alignment with person-centered planning and principles. So, if you're giving somebody responsibility for taking care of the client, have them take a look at the plan. Have them know what we're shooting for. I've sometimes said if you get on an airplane and the pilot says, "Hey, we're going to Chicago and we're going to get up to 39,000 feet. We're going to head in a northeasterly direction, and we're going to be there in 4 hours and 25 minutes, and we're going to land at gate 7." That's a plan. You know where you're going. If on the other hand you got on the plane and the pilot said, "Oh, we're going to get up in the air. We're going to see what the air current's like. We're going to, if there's clouds, we got to go around them, and we'll get to Chicago when we get there." That's sort of haphazard, and that's not the way you want to operate your program. Okay, with that, I will take questions. So if anybody wants to open their mic and ask a question, please go ahead. Again, remember you need to submit 3 things that you've learned today, that you've learned today if you want credit. And any questions? Okay, thank you for your time. Val, you want to stay on for a minute?